Hey there guys, Jason here, and today I'll be giving my top 10 favorite manga artists. Disclaimer though, this list is subject to change in the future once I've read more manga by different artists. So, let's go. First on this list is Inio Asano. Honestly, I don't care much for how he draws the human face because they aren't drawn with what would be considered realistic proportions, but he is able to show great emotion in his own unique style. His backgrounds and environments, however, are very detailed and grab your attention quickly. Of the works he has written that I've read, all have had more serious stories or themes, and his style does really well at conveying these heavier subjects. Next is Nobuhiro Watsuki, the artist behind the famous series Rurouni Kenshin. His art is very shonen in style, but he is also able to draw some really beautiful panels as well, using a sketch-like technique. Watsuki's style of the human form is also very appealing, and lends itself extremely well to the action sequences. He is also able to capture a wide array of facial expressions and communicate the emotions of his characters very well. Watsuki is certainly an influential figure in the shonen world and worthy of holding a place on this list. Number 8 is Shuzo Oshimi. Although he only has one series that is currently published in English, The Flowers of Evil, it showcases very well his artistic range. While the writing is excellent and creates a lot of tension throughout the story, it's the art that is both dynamic and perfectly frames each scene to create the right emotion at the right time. Even though he is not very high on this list, Shuzo's ability to use his art to pull the reader into the warped reality of these characters is incredible, and is definitely worth recognizing. The 7th spot goes to the artist for the largely popular series Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto. In the beginning, his art was very basic and didn't really show much in the way of anything new or exciting. But as the series progressed, so did his art, and it eventually matured right alongside the characters in the story. Whether or not he intended for this effect, I don't know, but I certainly noticed a growth in the art throughout the volumes. Number 6 is a true master, Naoki Urasawa. His manga has an attention to detail that is incredible and helps bring the panels to life. He creates realistic backgrounds and uses this to frame the wonderful characters he draws. Each face shows an obvious mastery of the expression of various emotions, which helps connect you to the characters and become invested with whatever situation they're in. Although it may not be anything exceedingly beautiful, the consistency of his art and remarkable ability with emotions makes Urasawa's works like 20th Century Boys and Monster classics of the manga world. The number 5 slot goes to the famous anime director Satoshi Kon. In the early 1990s, he had a brief manga career before shifting his attention to anime, but of the 2 works I've read, I'd have to say that it really is a shame he wasn't able to produce more manga. His art has crisp and clear characters, highly detailed backgrounds that help you become fully immersed in the world, and each panel is framed nearly perfect to add a cinematic feel to each scene. All this combined makes for a fantastic reading experience. Although only 4 volumes are currently available in English, I have to put Yusuke Murata this high on the list. Shonen manga needs to fluidly transition between a comedic style and intense action sequences. Murata accomplishes this with amazing ease, and it makes One Punch Man ridiculously enjoyable. From the intensely detailed and dynamic action sequences to the derpy comedic bits, Murata flows freely back and forth brilliantly. The first 2 honorable mentions are artists for series that I have yet to read, but their art is so well known that they deserve to be put on this list in some form until I can delve into their manga. The first is Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, whose art for the Mobile Suit Gundam The Origins is very impressive. I have to admire the fact that all of the art for the series is drawn freehand. Second is Sui Ishida, the artist for Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Re. I really want to read Tokyo Ghoul, and I am very excited to fully explore Ishida's art, because based on what I've seen so far, it is very beautifully drawn. The next artist is Junji Ito. His work in the horror manga genre may not be for everyone because of the content, but if you can manage to read through it, you will see some amazingly detailed art. It perfectly encapsulates the disturbing stories and themes in each of his works. The next 2 artists are both large figures in the shonen manga world, and they have both left a big impact on the industry. First is Akira Toriyama, who of course had gigantic success with his series Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. He forever changed the shonen genre, and his art was ideal for accomplishing that, because it allowed for both comedic and fighting scenes. The second artist is Yoshihiro Togashi. Admittedly, his art is pretty pathetic at times, but overall I'd have to argue that his art style is exactly what a story like Hunter x Hunter needs. The rough and generally unpolished look helps give the wild and untamed tone to it. It is admirable and important to note that Yoshihiro does the majority of his work without the help of assistants. My last honorable mention goes to the legend Hidehiko Araki for his work on his famous series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Even though I have only read Part 3 Stardust Crusaders and just started reading Part 1 Phantom Blood, I feel I have to at least recognize the art of one of the biggest names in the manga world. Coming in at number 3 is Takeshi Obata. His art is a simply amazing blend between a shonen style that allows for the slower paced and more comedic scenes like in Bakuman, and a realistic and more detailed style that lends itself to heightening the emotions for a scene that is serious or has a darker tone, such as in Death Note or All You Need Is Kill. I have not completely read Bakuman yet, but his art is incredibly enjoyable throughout both All You Need Is Kill and Death Note. Takeshi clearly has a good eye for picking great series to work on, ignoring Rallgrad. But even though the writing of these series is exceedingly well done, I think it is safe to say that they would not be nearly as awesome without the support of his artistic talents. Number 2 is Tite Kubo. It has been simply incredible watching his art mature over time. In the beginning, his style was much better suited for a typical shonen series. However, now it has grown into having some amazing panels within the chapters, as well as unbelievably detailed and beautiful volume covers. I actually only have one art book in my collection, which happens to be by Tite Kubo, and I absolutely love looking through it. If you haven't read Bleach purely because the story is confusing and doesn't make sense at times, give it a chance if for no other reason than to see what is developed into some fantastic artwork. The top honor has to go to a truly incredible artist, Takehiko Inoue. Contained within the pages of his series Vagabond is some of the most beautiful art I've ever seen. Setting aside the fact that it's drawn for a manga, many of the color pages could stand alone as individual art pieces that I would love to frame and hang in my house. His ability with watercolors and a brush are unparalleled by anything I've seen, and I find it hard to imagine that any manga will approach this level of brilliance because the characters and worlds he creates border on photorealism at times. If you're a fan of gritty seinen manga, or even just interested in superb artwork, then go grab a couple of the Viz Big volumes and delve into the greatness that is Takehiko Inoue. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.